And this is Robert and Levi's Sports Talk.
Simply put. So we cover primarily as far as college football goes and stuff like that. We're going to be covering mostly Texas Tech football. Obviously, we'll go over all sorts of stuff going around the country, whether it's Alabama and all that kind of stuff, the college football playoff, all that kind of stuff. And then as far as NFL teams, we'll be covering the Houston Texans, Dallas Cowboys, primarily. Like I said, just mainly Texas sports and stuff like that. So.
Yep, that is where we are. So, football is not the only thing we cover. We're actually going to start off by talking about the World Series. I mean, what do you say?
Basically, all you can do is just laugh.
It's been 108 years. 108 years since the Cubs have won a World Championship, and it is just absolutely insane. I'm not a Chicago fan. I don't live in Chicago, so I can't begin to explain how those people feel. But
I guess our closest ties. My dad is from Chicago, or the outskirts of Chicago. His wife's family is from Chicago, all that kind of stuff, and so that's the closest thing we have to the Cubs. And looking at it now, I mean, obviously it was a huge deal for that city. Maybe not necessarily the rest of the country, but that city, they were so prideful in winning the World Series after 108 years that it's indescribable, basically, for them to win that.
So just want to throw a couple things at you. The last time that there were two ties in the same NFL year was 1997. Same year the Indians were in the World Series and blew a 3-1 lead. Exactly what happened this time. I don't know if does history repeat itself or what. It's amazing. It's an amazing thing that the Cubs did, and hats off to them and that entire team. I think Pete Ross, that last game, that homer. That's
David Ross.
David Ross.
David Ross. That was great. And to see him go out on top like that, I think that just pays tribute to the entire career that he had. That kind of stuff definitely makes sports well worth it.
Absolutely.
Ben Zobrist was named the World Series MVP. I don't know if you saw it. He actually got a Camaro out of the deal
I did not see that.
from Chevy. I guess like the CEO of Chevy or something like that rolled in and had a Camaro waiting out on the field for him, ready to go. So let me just tell you, I don't know if you guys have seen this or not, but that Camaro is tip top.
Notch.
That thing is
top
incredible.
Notch? Come on, World Series MVP. You gotta have.
That's exactly right.
Awesome ride. But so we know everybody's tired of hearing it. We had to throw it out there. World Series Cubs, congratulations, guys.
Absolutely.
Well deserved. Well deserved.
Huge. And last little tidbit on that. Can we all just have an appreciation for Epstein, Mr. Epstein? He is incredible with the way he handles his organizations with the Red Sox and with the Cubs. Breaking the two curses that were with both of those organizations is just incredible in itself. So
amazing. What do you think he goes to the Indians next?
That would be hilarious.
That would be a big time deal for Cleveland.
I don't know. I think I'd like him to go to the Rangers. We need a World Series finally. I want that so bad.
I think everybody does.
No.
To be completely honest with you. All right, so we're gonna move on. Let's talk about basketball. We had tip off last week.
I think last Tuesday.
Last Tuesday we had tip off. A few things to talk about there actually. We're going back to the opening day. The Warriors, 29-point loss. What do you make of that out of your first game of the season? There are people out there wondering if they'd go undefeated until Christmas, New Year's. They didn't make it past the first freaking game.
Right.
I mean,
that's the issue. I think everybody
huge.
At the start of the season, I think everybody was so focused on, after having that 29-point loss, I think everybody was so focused on the chemistry of the team and where they thought that was going to go over the course of the season.
How are Durant and Curry going to play together?
That's exactly right. You have two MVPs on the same team with arguably Klay Thompson and Draymond Green, obviously backing them up. There's most likely going to be some chemistry issues there. After that first loss, it looks like they've kind of started to work the issues out just a little bit, but they did actually have a 24-point loss to the Lakers at LA, I think a few days ago.
Yep.
One thing that's been tough for the Warriors team right now is Klay Thompson. He is not up to par with what he was a year ago this time. Or I say this time, a year ago, mainly towards the latter part of the season as well as the playoffs. You know, he was on fire. You could arguably say that he was up there with Steph Curry, but you know, I think Steve Kerr kind of said it. He touched on it earlier today about how this time at the start of the season last year, Klay Thompson was not at the top of his game, and so he worked it out obviously throughout the rest of the season, and so I think the Warriors organization is thinking that he'll kind of go that same route as what he did a year ago.
I think you're right. So what is that? That brings us to the Cavaliers.
No.
Cleveland Cavaliers.
The
All right.
Uh-oh.
We got to talk about it. Got to talk about it.
Are they
How
still
do we feel?
undefeated?
How do we feel?
Are they still undefeated?
Cavs are still undefeated.
Man. How crazy would it be if they flipped the script after the Warriors had an incredible season last year and broke the NBA record?
You thinking?
You think the Cavs might do it this year?
I think, you know, as much as I don't like the Cavs,
Right.
I hate to say it, but I think
There's-
you know they're standing at 6-1 in their conference, or 6-0 right now in their conference, and they're the only ones. So
Yeah.
that says something.
Have you gotten to watch them play at all?
I have not actually gotten to watch them play.
Their chemistry is phenomenal. You know, you don't see this in too many teams, and with LeBron being the head man there, obviously good things are going to come. But man, you watch them and the ball movement, everything about how they play is just phenomenal. I mean, they're going to be the team to beat this year, no question about it.
I think you're right. It also brings us to the Spurs and the Thunder. We got to talk about the West a little bit. West is kind of shaking up right now. I mean, you got Oklahoma City that's sitting at 5-1 on top of the West there. And I know it's early. It's only 6 games in, but
Yeah.
you know, there's a lot to be said about some of these teams right now. They're just. I think we kind of expected this out of the Spurs and the Thunder, but the
Right.
Clippers.
What do we got with the Clippers? Where are we at here?
What do we think about them? Right now, they're sitting at second. They're 5-1. I don't know.
Could be a team. I think it's you know, you'll see a lot of these way too early playoff predictions and stuff like that, and I feel like you see these teams like the Clippers playing well and all that kind of stuff. You're going to get a lot of talk about them. We'll just, like I said, we'll see how the season goes on here and see if that kind of stuff comes into fruition there.
You know, like I said, it's still early. It's real easy to kind of get excited and get overhyped about it, and it's
playoff basketball. I mean,
well, yeah. I mean, you look back at the World Series. What did everybody do with the World Series? Cleveland had a 3-1 lead. Everybody got excited. Cleveland's going to win the World Series, and what happens? You never know.
that quick.
It's easy to get excited, for sure.
Did you catch the Warriors hosted Oklahoma City the other night? It was obviously the first time since the breakup between Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook. As far as I know, the Warriors pretty much handed it to them. I got an update. I think they won by like 26. I think is what I saw, something like that. I mean, they did it pretty handily, and man, I'm not sure how I feel because you know you get all the talk about how you know you hear a lot of Russell Westbrook and stuff like that in these post-game interviews, and they're always talking about the relationship with him and Kevin Durant and how things ended so badly in Oklahoma City that it was just kind of one of those games where you look back and you're like, you know what, forget all the talk, forget all the media, all that kind of stuff, play basketball and see who comes out on top, you know.
I agree. Don't blame it on one player. If you're not playing well, don't blame your slump on somebody else. Cause
Right.
Don't blame it on him because he left in a bad name. It's get out there and play your game. I think Steph Curry and Kevin Durant have got a long way to go. I think they're going to end up making a pretty good team. I think Westbrook is going to end up
Doing something.
I think he's got to.
You look back at the super team that you could call the Heat a few years back with LeBron James, Dwayne Wade, Chris Bosh, all that kind of stuff.
LeBron
Their
went to
first year,
Miami?
their first year after they said that they were going to win not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4 championships and so on, their first year was brutal almost. I mean, you could hardly say it was a brutal year, and so I would not be surprised to see the same thing come out of the Warriors this year with them adding Kevin Durant and all these superstars pretty much to make this super team. I would not be surprised if it went downhill in the first year.
Well, you know what they say. The year after a big win, You come back and everybody has a slump right now.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we can talk about this in any sport you want. It's the exact same. You come back off a winning year, and it's not very often you go back for another good winning year. You definitely fall into a slump. I agree with that completely. I guess time will tell for absolute certainty. Yes. Current games right now, we've got Miami, speaking of the Heat, at Oklahoma City.
Okay.
Currently, Oklahoma City's on top, 71-51.
Looks like we got one. How much time do we got left?
It is 6:39 in the third.
No, it looks like it's pretty said and done there. I'm still trying to find the. Oh man, that Oklahoma City and Warriors game, just to get an exact score on that. I think that those kind of games are what's good for the league. You know, you look at how the NFL right now is going through some viewership issues. Obviously, they're down this year rather than other years, and so you know things. If the NFL could get things like a Russell Westbrook Kevin Durant matchup, obviously that was huge for the NBA. And if something like that were to happen in the NFL, I feel like the NFL would shoot up in viewership, but you don't see that kind of stuff happen every day, you know.
While you're looking that up, I'd like to talk about the Rockets. Houston Rockets. Your Houston Rockets coming off a loss. 32 points from Harden leads them to a win over the Wizards, 114-106. So there you go. You got your Rockets winning a game. Don't know how many out there are Rockets fans. We're probably talking a little more to the hello
area.
Yeah. Probably talking to more Mavericks fans than anything. So,
Which, speaking of, man, let me just tell you, the Mavs this year, something's wrong. Something's wrong with the Mavericks organization. They got their first win last night. I believe it was to. Let me see. Do you see it on there? Let me see here. What is today? Sunday. They got it last night. Nope. Wrong night.
Yeah, we're gonna have to cut some stuff.
Yeah, we'll be alright. To the Bucks. Alright, we found it. The Mavs got their first win of the season, 86-75 to the Bucks. You know, the Bucks this year, there's a little bit of hype coming out of Milwaukee there. They got oh man, what is his name? I can't even remember. He used to play for Kansas, was a really big star for Kansas. Jabari Parker. Let me see here. Either way, the Bucks have a lot of young guys that are ready to go, and it's a lot like the 76ers. They've got a lot of young guys, which is weird to say, you know.
Yeah.
I haven't seen the 76ers there. They had Ben Simmons was their number 1 overall draft pick in this past year's NBA draft, and obviously there's a lot of talk coming from him, but he did get injured, and so they're not too terribly sure whenever he's going to be able to return to the league, but hopefully it's soon. But we'll see how it goes. So.
Alrighty. Well, I believe that this. You got anything else you want to wrap up on the NBA real quick?
I think that kind of covers it. You know, we covered the Warriors, the Cavs, all that kind of stuff, and then you know, we're just gonna go from there.
Like I said, it's still early in the season, but there's a lot of games to play. It's easy to get overhyped. King LeBron, although he is, what is he, 10th in all time?
Something like that. I think he hit 10th. Yeah. Turn it up.
All right. Well, I think that does it for the first part.
First half.
Show.
Fight the friction.
Well, hey, welcome back. We just took a small little break there. You know, the first half of our video here, we went ahead and covered a little bit of the NBA, kind of went over what we're about, what we kind of typically go to cover and stuff like that.
You know, I think maybe we should take a step back. We should let our fans know us a little more. Our fans. The 1 or 2 people out there that are actually looking at it right now.
Right.
So, like I said, I'm Robert Wright. I originally grew up down in Baytown. It's down there about halfway between Houston and Beaumont. So, of course, I grew up as an Oilers fan, which makes me a Texans fan. So of course, when we talk about the Texans, I'm gonna be a little more partial about it. The Texans, the Astros, those Houston boys. I tend to like those a little more. But I'm happy to say that I'm a proud Red Raider now. Guns up, Wreckham Tech.
Yes.
So that's a little bit about mine.
Again, my name is Levi Fair. I grew up here in Lubbock, Texas. Was born and raised here, and actually attended school here at Texas Tech as well. As far as favorite sports teams go, my father's actually from Chicago, and so we follow a lot of the teams like the Cubs and the Blackhawks, and obviously the Bears and stuff like that. But we primarily like the Rangers. As far as baseball goes, we like the Rangers. But anything else, it's going to be from Chicago, and so that's just a little bit about us. We can kind of dive into the rest of our segment here, and I guess cover a little bit of college football. Robert's got it pulled up here. He's going to go over a few of the scores from the weekend, and then we'll cover the playoff and all that kind of stuff, and kind of how the playoff picture is looking over the course of the next few weeks here as we wind down the season here. So
I think if we're going to talk about college football, we've got to talk about Douglas Coleman and the strip return for a touchdown. We may have lost that game, but
exactly right.
That play was...
There was a bright spot in that game.
That was looking at Texas Tech defense. You look at Texas Tech defense and you never actually look at it like we have a defense. They kind of proved otherwise, I believe, on Saturday. Maybe not the entire game, but...
In a few ways they did.
That was... they got the turnovers. They forced the turnovers they needed. They definitely could have gone a little better, but, from being a Tech fan, any defense is good defense.
That's exactly right.
I mean, when you look at... You can look at our offense all day long. Our offense is amazing. It's great. We like what they're doing with it most of the time. But defense, any defense is a good defense right now. And I think that strip for return, that was just absolutely amazing. I can't get over that. I think maybe we should talk about a few scores here. Let's see.
Real quick, what we're going to do, we're actually going to go ahead and show you guys footage of that strip fumble recovery. It was at the goal line, actually.
Devontae
Foreman. Yeah.
Devontae?
Is it Devontae?
Dante
Foreman. Man, we don't even know our guys.
Hey, he plays for UT. What
That's
can you
exactly right. UT. Kid's a beast, though. He's a huge
Absolutely.
kid, and he's got back-to-back 300-yard rushing weeks. Did it against Baylor last week, and then again did it against Texas Tech here this week. And obviously, what we're kind of dubbing the play of the week actually comes from Douglas Coleman, as he was mentioning. Had that strip at the goal line. Dante Foreman had a rush for about 25 yards. It was actually 3rd and 25 on the play. Dante Foreman ran it, got hit maybe 10 yards from the line of scrimmage, and then just kept pushing his legs all the way up to the goal line. But then at that point, Douglas Coleman got his hands inside, got to strip the ball out from his hands, and took off down the sideline 100 yards to the end zone. So what we're going to do is we're going to show you guys...
99. 99. If it was 100 yards, that means Texas would have
that is
the
true.
touchdown.
That's very true.
We've got to call it like it is. It's 99.
The,
Not quite triple digits, but for all intents and purposes, that was a 100 yards.
There you go.
That was amazing.
Set the... It either set or tied the longest fumble recovery record at Texas Tech. I don't know the exact details on that. Like I said, we're just gonna take a few seconds here and show you guys that footage of that video, and it is something special. So. Alright, so what a play that was. Again, Douglas Coleman was, I don't know how he did it. With so many guys piled into one small area, I don't know how he was able to pull that out, but you know what? I'll take it.
Happy he did.
I'll take it. Unfortunately, Douglas Coleman, his strip fumble recovery to the house wasn't enough to put Texas Tech on top of Texas. And so that's kind of where that week ended. I think it was a 45-37 loss for the Red Raiders as UT rolls into Lubbock and comes out with the win there. So
You gotta think Texas had that blocked extra point there in the beginning of the game. You got to think if we'd have somehow if Mahomes would have not thrown that interception in the end zone and we'd have gotten the touchdown, you got to think would we have made the 2-point conversion or would it have come down to that extra point that we missed?
That's exactly right.
That's things that always haunt you. You can do what if all day long, but in the end, it was a good game played by both teams. Both teams did really good. It was.
All props to UT, of course. You know, as Texas Tech fans, we are not the biggest UT fans, to be honest here. But
just call it like it is.
That's exactly right. All props to UT, though. They fought hard and came out with a win. So kind of diving into college football here, we can kind of go over a few things. First off, let's talk about Texas A&M. In the first college football playoff rankings of the season, drawn last Tuesday, Kirby Holcutt, the College Football Playoff Committee chairman, released the rankings, and our top 4 went as followed. Number 1, Alabama. Number 2, Clemson. Number 3, Michigan. And number 4, Texas A&M. A&M traveled to Mississippi State this week in what was obviously a tough test for them.
Tough. Mississippi State is unranked.
Yeah, Mississippi State, I think, at the
Should
time,
not
their
have been
record was
a tough game.
3-5. A&M rolls into town at a 7-1 record and cannot get the job done. Obviously, they fall. Did you see the score there?
35-28. That's another one just by a touchdown. But you know, it goes to show you. And before we actually get into that, I just want to say I don't understand 100% how college football playoff rankings are done. How do you have an undefeated team in Washington? You know, I know it's a Pac-12 team,
Right.
but it's a Power 5 conference.
That's exactly right.
It's a Power 5 conference. You've got an undefeated Power 5 team that is ranked below a one-loss team.
Right.
I mean, what does this boil down to?
Well, see, in the college football playoff was designed in order to get away from what the computers had to say about the BCS, because obviously there was a lot of tension with the fan bases and stuff like that with what was going on in the BCS National Championship game, all the rankings that went on there, because it was all computerized. They didn't get to see what was actually going on. And so, like I said, the College Football Playoff Committee was formed in order to obviously develop the College Football Playoff, the top 4, and go by what they can see on the field, as well as statistical advantages, all that kind of stuff. If you look at it, obviously Alabama, Clemson, Michigan are top-notch in the entire college football field, but Washington got left out here. I firmly believe Washington got left out. If you watch them play, they are easily top 4, if not top 3, maybe 2 in the country. They play with intensity. They're blocking. Everything around that team is fundamentally sound, and
Absolutely.
it blows my mind how they didn't get in the top 4.
I just don't understand how you leave a Power 5 undefeated team out of your rankings. It amazes me, but it also comes to show with A&M's loss, it just goes to show that it does come down to human error when we're talking about the rankings, and you know you can get that computer out of it, but it doesn't always mean that we have the best concept of who is actually the best in the nation.
I feel as if the College Football Playoff Committee saw A&M's loss to Alabama as obviously a loss to the best team in the entire country, and there's no doubt with Alabama that that's the case. But even if A&M has one loss, I don't see how you miss out on Washington in that number 4 spot. Again, just blows my mind how that happens, but they did what they wanted to.
And you know, it's not just at the top of the rankings either. You can go all the way down that, and you can say the same thing about a lot of the rankings. Let's take Colorado. What were they, 15th?
I believe so. I was gonna pull that up real quick.
First shows are fun.
That's exactly right. We're still trying to work out the kinks here, so don't be too critical. Let me see here.
Yeah, Colorado. They were. I know they were right ahead of Utah.
I believe they were 15. I think that was what that was there.
Yeah, they were right ahead of Utah, which is they both had the same record. 6-2, 7-2. They both had the 2 losses. But this is what gets me is how was Colorado ranked above Utah when Colorado has a loss to USC? Well, Utah beat USC. How do
There's so many. You kind of look at the college football slate this year, and there are so many instances where teams have beaten other teams, and it's almost like a three-way tie with these kind of things, and so it's hard figuring out what your top 25 is going to be through the college football playoff. Obviously, Colorado was one of those examples. Penn State, I believe, was another one there. We were actually having this conversation earlier this week about how he believes that Michigan should probably fill in that number 2 spot, and I believe that Clemson should probably be in that number 2 spot. So there's a little bit of a toss-up for a debate there.
Well, the AP tends to agree with me this week because Michigan is back to number 2.
Are they?
Yes,
Are they?
Michigan is up to number 2, right behind, of course, Bama. No surprise there.
I don't think Bama's going anywhere.
Yeah, I mean, you got they finally got it right, at least with the AP this time. They've got all their undefeated teams, 1 through 4. You've got Alabama coming in number 1, Michigan is number 2, and you've got Clemson and then Washington, of course. It'd be interesting to see them play the rest of the season out. I think it's going to be quite interesting to see what goes on here. There's a couple of teams that Washington plays Washington State, and you may say, Washington State, well, how are they going to take on the number 4? But that's a rivalry game. And
That's exactly right.
like you said, they got Mike Leach.
Yeah, Mike Leach is a guy. Of course, we know here at Texas Tech, there is never a game that you count yourself out of if Mike Leach is your head coach. I believe the stats went that Washington State lost to Eastern Washington, earlier this year in FCS school, and then a loss to another FCS school. Cannot remember which team that was, but then they played Oregon State 2 weeks ago. Oregon State is a 2-6 team at the time, and Washington State barely struggled to pull that one out. But here's where it all kind of flips. I'm going to call it right now that Washington is going to go. Washington and Washington State are going to play at the end of the season in that rivalry game, and Mike Leach is going to pull out some sort of magic, and they're going to knock off undefeated. I'm going to say undefeated Washington whenever that time comes. But we'll see how it goes. It's kind of the same situation with Auburn, Alabama. You get those rivalry games, and you can throw the entire season out. Once you hit those rivalry games, it's a different ball game, and you never know who's going to pull those out.
I'd like to put a pin in that Washington State over Washington.
Yeah.
I like to be a realist here. I like to be a realist. But, crazier things have happened.
That's exactly
so,
right.
I mean, Penn State beat Ohio State.
That's
and that was
wild.
huge. I mean, that was massive. I don't know if you saw that game. It was
Another game.
Blowout. It was bad.
Man, speaking of blowouts, Ohio State knocks off number 10 Nebraska this week,
that wasn't even a game.
62-3. I don't know if it was in part to Tommy Armstrong getting injured in that game, but
Number 10.
what happened? Yeah,
Number 10.
number 10.
It actually pushed him down to number 21, just looking at the AP.
That's the AP poll. It did.
Pushed him down to 21. That was quite...
So that
quite
victory
shocking.
for the Buckeyes was actually the largest victory over a top 10 opponent for any school in the entire history of the NCAA. Impressive
Very
on
impressive.
the part of the Buckeyes.
I tried to watch that game. It just didn't happen. It was...
Once it gets to a certain point, you're just kind of
you
like,
sit down, number what were they? Ohio State. They were number 6 at the time. So it was 6 versus 10, and you got to think that's going to be a good game. But it was touchdown after touchdown
That's
after
exactly right.
touchdown
I
after
believe-
touchdown.
I believe the media kind of sought it out to be, or kind of hyped it up to be this phenomenal game that was about to happen this weekend. Because we had Alabama, LSU, and then
Speaking of
the
another
backup
disappointment.
game was the Ohio State Nebraska game, which obviously that one was a disappointment, but we believe the Alabama LSU game was a disappointment as well.
Yeah, it absolutely was. Speaking of top 10 teams, in touchdown after touchdown after touchdown, gotta talk about Lamar Jackson. Louisville.
That's exactly
I
right.
mean, it may have been Boston College, but honestly, you
But
put
he's
up
done- he's done
7
it.
touchdowns. I think
He's
his
done
final
that.
score 52-7. That's
Lamar Jackson has accounted for 7 total touchdowns in 4 games this season. If he's not at the top of your Heisman list, I don't know who is. In all honesty, I don't
He's
know
gotta
who it
be.
is. I guess the closest people you could look at is maybe Deshaun Watson, maybe Jake Browning out of Washington, one of those two. Other than that, I mean, it just kind of drops off after that. You got substantial players throughout the entire college football slate, but if you look at Lamar Jackson, the way he plays, there is never a moment where you can count yourself out with him. He makes something happen on every single play, and obviously that's geared Louisville to the start that they've had this year, with their only loss to Clemson, in which was a heck of a game. That was
that
incredible.
loss to Clemson, I gotta say that made me lose a little bit of hope in Lamar Jackson. I kind of thought maybe that was the end of the Heisman run for him, but God, he just comes back every time. He keeps on going. It's unbelievable, this kid. And do we know how many yards he's at for this year?
I believe. Let me check it here. Yeah, the kid has been on fire. There was a video circling the Twitter sphere, if you would call it that, a few years ago, and it was of this high school student that made this phenomenal play. Absolutely was going one way, and then just instantly, in the blink of an eye, cut back the other direction for an insane touchdown. And that kid just so happened to be the young Lamar Jackson. Obviously, it's translated to what's going on up in Louisville right now. But man, kid's exciting to watch.
He absolutely is.
Just
he's a heck of a running back. We got stats here.
So on the season, he's got 2,753 passing yards. This touchdown stat right here actually does not incorporate the total touchdowns, which would be the passing touchdowns as well as the rushing touchdowns. So he has 26 passing touchdowns right now. On the year, he actually has, I believe, 48 total touchdowns.
48 total touchdowns. And you know, those passing ones are impressive, but it's the running touchdowns that always get me, especially with the quarterback. You get those running touchdowns in there, and it's amazing.
And look
at his versatile.
He's got 22 rushing touchdowns. If you do the math there, he's got 22 rushing touchdowns on the year. You're not going to get that from most running backs, in all honesty. You're not going to get that from most running backs. And so he's doing some crazy things out there in Louisville, and he's actually on pace to break the NCAA record for total touchdowns in the season, which was set by the Hawaii quarterback back, I believe, in 2012. I think is the year that was, which obviously is a huge feat to accomplish. But this has definitely been a year of records to be broken for sure. So
absolutely. It's been a crazy year. Also, I feel like things have kind of gotten shaken up at least once or twice.
That's exactly right.
You can't ever sleep on some of these games. It's games you think people should be winning, and I mean this weekend, watching A&M, number 4 team in the nation, I know we've said it, but following Mississippi State, you figure number 4 against an unranked team, go to sleep on that one.
That's exactly right.
It's not one that you expect.
An easy win for A&M.
And I tell you, A&M never had the lead in that game.
Really?
I don't believe so. If they did, it was at the very beginning, because as soon as Mississippi State came out to play, they came out to play.
Yes, yep, absolutely.
They let them have it.
If we kind of look at a few more scores on the weekend, let me ask you something. How much are we buying into Western Michigan on the year? They are 9-0 this year in the MAC conference. How are you feeling about them?
I feel pretty good. It's also the MAC.
That's very true.
If we're going to talk about strength of schedule there's not a whole lot to talk about. It's kind of the exact same reason Louisville's dropped down to number 7 and Houston is unranked right now. It's those little conferences that just really don't have they don't have the schedule. They don't have the schedule, and it sucks to say it, but you can't choose what conference. Well, you can't really choose what conference you're in.
That's exactly right. Looking back on it, number 14, Oklahoma knocks off Iowa State in Ames, Iowa. Baker Mayfield throws for 328 yards, 4 total touchdowns. Phenomenal game on his part. Let's see. We got Colorado knocking off UCLA on the other Thursday night game, 20-10. Colorado, I don't know, man. I'm feeling good about Colorado this year. Yes, they have
overrated.
They have 2 losses on the season. I believe one of those was to Michigan, which was a blowout win. But other than that, they have looked pretty stout in the Pac-12.
Of course, you've got number 5 Washington took out California.
Handily.
66-27.
Handily,
that was quite they showed why they're ranked number 5 in the nation. They're actually doing really good right now.
We were kind of hoping for an ex-Texas Tech quarterback to maybe knock off the undefeated Washington team, but Davis Webb and company could not get it done, unfortunately.
Couldn't do it.
I'm telling you, they're a tough team. Very tough team.
Of course, you got Jake Browning going for 6 touchdowns,
Yeah.
378 yards.
It's looking like Lamar Jackson out there.
That kid's crazy. He's
Did you see the when Washington played? I think it was Stanford the other day. Jake Browning had a phenomenal game against Stanford, and actually one of the Stanford players after the in the post game meeting between the players went up to him, gave him a pat on the back, all that kind of stuff, and all he said was, "You're gonna win the Heisman." And so we'll see. Let's see if he calls it.
I don't know. Man, the way this year's been going, anything can happen.
That's exactly right.
Anything, absolutely anything. You name it. Let's talk about Big 12 for a little bit. I know, kind of hurting right now.
This is gonna be a tough part of the video here.
Yeah, how do we feel about Baylor being just dominated by TCU? I mean,
So
just
Baylor
listening
gets-
to that game, it reminded me of 2
Yeah.
years ago when Tech played TCU, and it was
it
fun
brutal.
on that. It
And-
was 80 to something.
And in all honesty, I was hoping TCU would do it to Baylor this year. You know, TCU beat Texas Tech a few years ago, 82-27.
27.
I can't remember if it was deemed the largest victory in NCAA history or not. I don't believe that's correct, but it's up there.
It was
And
definitely massive.
and so when you look at the TCU Baylor game this past weekend, TCU knocks off number 17 Baylor in Waco, 62-22, 40-point victory. Insane.
Every time I see that, all I think of is where I was when I was listening to that Tech TCU game when we got beat
Yeah.
that bad, and it's something like that. It's like a train wreck. You just
Yeah.
you can't look away. You
And
can't stop
you feel
listening.
helpless.
It's-
You
there's
absolutely feel
nothing you can
helpless. That's
do.
the worst part about it.
I mean, when you're down 28-7 and going into the half, and 28-14 going into the half, I believe it was. There's you think you still got hope, but
in this game, it was
yeah, in this one it was 38-14.
yeah, 38-14 going into half.
That's right. So that's
Yeah,
that's
that was rough.
just a helpless feeling.
So obviously, there's a lot of talk that's been surrounding Baylor these past few months here with the allegations with Art Briles and what the student athletes have done in sexual assault. Did you see the Baylor fan base before the game actually printed off these blacked out T-shirts with hashtag CAB Coach Art Briles on the shirt in big white letters? I think they sold some like 2,000 of those. How can you? Let me ask you, how can you feel good about yourself or be morally sound to sell stuff like that and promote Coach Art Briles in that situation?
That sucks to look at, and you want to look at it as the players don't, or the student body themselves. You want to look at it that they're not supporting that kind of behavior, but in fact they're supporting their coach, which went on, and I mean he did a real good job at Baylor, but it's just something that can't happen.
Right.
You can't have that.
You can't approve that kind of stuff.
I know. There's been talk about Briles coming to Lubbock, and honestly, we can't afford that publicity. We can't. Sorry, I don't want that. I don't want him coaching our team. That is not what I stand for. Of course, that's my own personal opinion. Everybody's entitled to their opinion. You can't do that.
It's tough for sure. I'm not too sure how Art Briles at this point is able to find a head coaching job anywhere. With all the allegations that's surrounding him, what school is going to accept that and bring him in as their head coach? Sure, he did a phenomenal job at Baylor, bringing them from what would be the worst team in the Big 12 to year in, year out being one of the best teams and going for
Notably
that
one of the
conference
best.
title.
By far, one of the best in the Big 12.
He did a phenomenal job, but how can you approve of
You can't.
of what that is?
You can't stand for that kind of thing.
That's
And
exactly right.
It's something that's terrible to see. I mean, he was a great coach, and the things he did at Baylor, but that's one thing that's going to hang over his head for quite a while.
That's exactly right.
You can't promote that.
One more thing on
Firmly.
Baylor. Shock Linwood actually was suspended for the game this upcoming weekend against Oklahoma. I guess Coach Jim Grove stated it as just argument issues, basically, is what it was. He had kind of the tussle on the sideline with one of the assistant coaches for Baylor this past week, and you can't have that behavior on the team. And props to Jim Grove for
It
cracking
goes
down the
down.
law.
Joe Mixon was actually suspended from Oklahoma for
Yeah.
almost the exact same thing.
Yeah.
What was
There it
it,
is.
last week
Yeah.
that he got suspended?
Yeah,
He sat out
against
Saturday.
Iowa State. Yeah.
Yeah, he sat out Saturday for the same thing. Yeah, dude, respect your coach.
Yeah,
That's your
that's
coach.
right. And I believe actually in his situation, he got a parking ticket, and
Oh,
in
it
front
was.
of the
It was the parking
parking
crew.
security, or whatever you want to call
Parking
it. He rips up the parking ticket and just
Disrespectful.
throws it at him. I don't know how you can approve of that.
Very
And
disrespectful.
well done by Bob Stoops and Jim Grove for
Yep.
for putting those suspensions on those
Sit 'em
players
down.
and
Sit 'em
teaching them some discipline.
Let them know they
Definitely.
can't get away with whatever
That's
they want.
exactly right.
You're a football player. That's
Let's see, a few more scores here.
it. We got West Virginia, Kansas, number 20, of course. 48-21, the final score on that one. Yeah, West Virginia.
You're looking good.
I was a firm believer in them. I don't know.
Looking good. Even with the loss to Oklahoma State last week, I believe that they were one of the better teams in the Big 12. And they have a shot going down to the wire here.
Oh, they definitely did. I think they had a little better of a shot staying undefeated. But,
Right.
7-1, 4-1 in the Big 12, that's still not bad. Still not bad.
I think at this point, there's really no hope for the Big 12 in the playoff. It's more
Well,
so who's just going to come out on
one,
top.
the only one that we have hope for is Oklahoma. And Oklahoma, I want to say in the AP poll right now, Oklahoma has surpassed Texas A&M for the number 9 spot on the
They
AP
look
poll.
good. If you watch them play the
Oh, don't you hate saying that with Baker
yeah,
Mayfield?
yeah, it sounds horrible. Ex-Texas
Oh.
Tech quarterback Baker Mayfield.
Nobody likes to
and
see
his-
that.
That's
but
exactly right.
Kid's good.
He is.
Kid's
His
good.
connection with D.D. Westbrook is insane. He can sling it 65 yards downfield and find D.D. Westbrook every single time.
Yeah, that kid is
And
good. There's
Well,
nothing else you
yeah.
can say about it. You hate to say it.
That's
you
exactly
saw him
right.
leave, you watched him leave, you
Yeah.
let him go, and you
Yeah,
hate
you
to
let
see
the
him doing
media-
good, but
You let the media take a hold of the situation and turn it very sour very quickly.
Yeah.
But we will give credit where credit is due. He is doing a really good job at Oklahoma right now.
absolutely. I think maybe we should hit it off to a break a little bit
Yeah.
for a second here.
Okay.
Yeah. When we come back, I guess we talk about fantasy. We can talk about some of your fantasy teams. We can talk about the action off in the NFL going on right now. We've got the Bills. Are they still winning right now?
Let's check it out.
Not paying any attention, right?
That's how we roll here, obviously. So let's not like that.
Yeah, we'll talk about the NFL. We'll talk about the this past week, all the action that went on. Of course, the Bills and Seahawks right now. Of course, last we looked, the Bills were up, but
Let's see, I got it right here
I
for
think
you.
it's
At halftime, we've got Seahawks leading the Bills 28-17.
Seahawks. Last I saw, the Bills were winning.
So
Oh, well.
we'll see how that one goes down. Like you said, once we come back from the break here, we'll go ahead and cover a little bit of the NFL, fantasy, all that kind of stuff, and then we'll come back
Get
to
it wrapped up for you. We'll be back.
Lay the yeah.
Alrighty. Welcome back. We're going to go ahead and start off diving into the wonderful world of the National Football League.
Just wonderful.
First off, there are just some hot topics we got to talk about. And one of those is Dak Prescott and Zeke Elliott. By far the best rookie duo out there I've seen in a very, very long time.
Right. You're gonna have to go back several years to find a combo that's as lethal as these two are.
Just outstanding. Cowboys are it's a good problem to have there
Yeah.
in Dallas. You know, you got Romo looking to come back maybe. You got Dak Prescott who's just on fire with things. I mean, I know I saw earlier this season he had just barely passed Tom Brady's record for most passes thrown as a rookie without an interception.
Right.
Of course, right after they said that, he threw an interception.
That's funny how the world works.
He
right?
passed it. He beat Tom Brady's record for most passes without an interception.
Which in itself is an accomplishment. I mean,
Yeah,
Tom Brady, arguably the best, or one of the best quarterbacks of all time. So to have that record broken,
And
that's saying something.
It's pretty amazing. I mean, I know they were playing Cleveland this week, but 247 yards through the air with 21 out of 27 passes completed. Just amazing. 3 touchdowns.
He's a stud, and I'll say,
He's
coming out of the preseason, whenever they didn't even think he was going to be third string, they picked up Mark Sanchez after Tony Romo got hurt. And there was this whole debacle of who was going to be the starter. Are you going to go with the veteran in Mark Sanchez, or were you going to go with Dak Prescott? And obviously Dak Prescott prevailed, and now he's led the Cowboys to a 7-1 start, and the best start in
I can say
how many years.
they've arguably he's a great quarterback, but they've got arguably one of the best offensive lines
That's
in the
true.
NFL right now, and it's a very veteran offensive line, and I think that he has definitely used that to his advantage. I know we've seen Carson Wentz kind of fall off in the past couple days, or the past couple weeks with the past couple games he's played, and I think maybe we can attribute some of that to offensive line failures. You know, he's had a lot of pressure on him. Of course, I think other teams have figured him out too.
I agree,
It only
yeah.
took a few games for them to watch a little film and be like, "Yeah, we got you figured out."
Yeah.
Dak on the other end, he's
so lethal. He can beat you on the throw or he can beat you on the run. One thing that I believe stands out the most for this Cowboys offense is actually Ezekiel Elliott. He is without a doubt the best running back in the league this year. There's no question about it, and he's just a rookie, which means that the ceiling for him is limitless at this point. I believe he had 18 carries, 92 yards, and 2 touchdowns this week. And
92 yards on 18 carries, and you compare that to veterans like let's look at Le'Veon Bell.
yeah,
I know the Steelers aren't going so great right now. I know he's 32 yards, kept him to 32 yards, and that was
Most of that.
kind of a big thing. And the Steelers only had 36 on the ground altogether throughout the entire game. They were kind of limited.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
which
It was tough to watch. I don't know if you saw the onside kick that the Steelers tried to pull off this week.
I did not.
You see that?
I
He
didn't catch
tries to
that.
do it was, I guess, to get the ball back to drive down the field and score and tie the game up before the game ended. And there was some 55 seconds left or something like that. And the kicker lines up, and obviously they're going for the onside kick. But when he tries to kick it, he tries to do a reverse kick, I guess, behind his leg. And whenever he does, the ball goes about 6 inches.
Oh no.
And then he just, I guess, gets frustrated or something, kicks it downfield, flag on the play, all that kind of stuff. It was just a horrible, horrible try from the get-go. You could definitely tell the frustration in fans' eyes. I actually got a text from one of my good friends who's from Pittsburgh, and all he said was that he was extremely ticked off at that moment. So, and that was the light way of saying that. So,
How can you not be? I don't think we should have seen Big Ben back on the field yet.
I don't think so.
No,
I think it was too early after that injury.
Yeah, they held him to. He still threw for 264 yards with 1 touchdown, but he also threw that interception. I think it came out to 60. Was that 67.3 passer rating?
Something like that, yeah.
That was
And
it's a
all
tough
those
game to watch.
all those yards that you see Big Ben throw in that game came primarily in the fourth quarter. If you look at the first 3 quarters of that game, that offense struggled. I think they were held with 0 points, I believe, in the first half, and only I think he had 55 passing yards in the first half, something like that. So that fourth quarter, they had a few good drives going down the field where they ultimately got those 14 points. And
Go ahead and throw some
that's
at you.
what, yeah,
That 14 points was in the fourth quarter alone.
yeah. See,
That was all 3 first quarters. The first 3 quarters they were held scoreless. That's a tough game to watch.
Yeah,
if
it
you're a
was.
Steelers fan, especially they started out the season so strong. We thought they were going to be playoff contenders, and it's
funny how
not looking good for them right now.
It's funny how the tides can change over the course of the season. We were actually talking about the strength of schedule of some of these teams earlier today, and this will kind of tie into the Packers and the Bears and all these kind of teams. But the Packers actually have the easiest strength of schedule in the entire football league. Yet they are sitting at, what's their record right now? Do we know?
Not good.
Yeah, it's not good. Definitely not
I can tell
what
you if you watched any of the game versus the Colts on Sunday, that was
It's definitely not what they should be at right now, especially with Aaron Rodgers at the helm. There's no need for them to be at the record that they're at. They got beat by the Colts 31-26 this week, and they are sitting at a 4-4 record right now with the easiest strength of schedule in the entire league. Man, what are the issues in Green Bay right now?
You'd like to blame it all on Aaron Rodgers, but I don't think you can. He just doesn't have the opportunities to get it downfield to his men. It comes down to he can't get his receivers open, and I think that comes down a little bit to not only good defenses, or being able to read the offense, but I think that comes down to maybe not so great play calling.
Right.
I think maybe we look down to Mike McCarthy and we kind of wonder what's going on there.
That's exactly right. And a few of the other issues up there, you look at the receiving core for the Packers. Randall Cobb injured this week. Jordy Nelson obviously was injured. last season and took the entire season and the off season in order to get back into shape, and he has been held to basically nothing for the majority of this year. I believe yesterday he had 2 or 3 catches for a total of like 40 something yards, if that. I know a couple weeks ago he had 0 catches. He can't get open. I think with his knee injury, he hasn't been able to effectively find open areas in the field and be a force on the entire playing field. But maybe he can get it figured out by the end of the season. We don't know. But
Well, Jordy Nelson was held to 7 receptions. He was targeted 13 times, and he had 94 yards in that game, which is that's still not great for what you expect out of a veteran receiver who's played with Aaron Rodgers for how long now. And I mean, usually those two can connect no matter what it comes down to.
Right.
It's not happening. He didn't catch almost half of those targets, and it's like I said, it comes down to not only maybe Aaron Rodgers is a little bit to blame here, but you got to look at those receivers too. I mean, you got to have hands to be able to catch that ball.
that's exactly right. He did have one though. His touchdown catch was, I don't know how he got it through there. I mean,
Typical Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, that's exactly right. He put it in the hole about 2 inches in diameter with the football. It was insane.
I'll tell you what's crazy is this team definitely relies on passing. I mean, you look at
Yes.
the numbers and the rushing just in last week's game or yesterday's game. Aaron Rodgers was the number 2 rusher on the team, which Aaron Rodgers isn't a running man.
Yeah.
Never has been, but he has
As
6
a
carries.
quarterback, he is.
Well, 43 yards for Aaron Rodgers,
But that's primarily, so if you look at Aaron Rodgers as, if you want to call him a dual threat quarterback, which he's not by any means, but the primary source of all of his yardages on his runs are going to be in the red zone. He, for some reason, finds a way to get to the end zone. But if it's in the open field, he doesn't run it too terribly often. And so whenever you see him as the leading rusher for the team at 43 yards yesterday, but leading rusher on the year for the team, that's not a good sign in Green Bay. I know they picked up Ty Montgomery. He's going to be taking over that lead role since A.D. Lacy is injured. So maybe he can turn the tide there in Green Bay and effectively push up that running game.
I don't know, we'll see. You can't win at home to the Colts, especially not this year. The Colts are just not that good. You can't win at Lambeau.
Can't lose.
You can't lose at Lambeau at home versus the Colts. You got to win that game.
I don't know how that one happened.
I don't.
And with the Bears, that's something that the Bears have always struggled with. Going back to the strength of schedule again, the Bears are second to last or they have the second to easiest schedule in the entire football league, and
They're sitting at 2-6.
they're
right
sitting
now.
at 2-6. Yeah,
Although you got to give credit where credit is due. They, I believe, are what started that Minnesota tailspin.
yeah. I guess you could say that. Yeah. Well, it started with Philadelphia the week before,
Well,
knocking them off.
Well, you figure-
Sam Bradford had 4 interceptions, something like that week.
he didn't look good, but I know coming off of a bye week after losing to your old team, you figure you're going to come back and you're going to stick it.
Fired up,
team
ready to
play.
go.
But that was not the case, and I think Chicago played a good game.
Yeah.
It was either Chicago played
All
a good
around
game
good
or the
game.
Vikings did not.
It might have been more so Jay Cutler looking to maybe be traded
Audition.
off, and he might be playing a good game to show the other teams that he's worth it.
That is what you call an audition, right there, boys and girls.
Exactly.
That is how you audition.
That's
That's how
exactly
you
right.
get picked up by somebody else. I gotta tell you, I was on the Buffalo bandwagon there for a little while. I was on the Rex wagon.
Rex Ryan. Oh,
Yeah, I was on the Rex wagon, but
What do we got now? What's the
I don't
score
know. It's
right here?
25-31 right now. We got about 10 minutes left in the
What kind of a
fourth quarter.
score is that? 25? How did they even get 25?
That's a great question. I guess I could
There
tell you
had
if
to
we
be
were
a
watching.
safety or something in there at some point, man.
Mm-hmm.
Oh. As a whole, if you look at the NFL this year, obviously one of the main storylines is going to be the viewer ratings that the NFL is getting. What
Not good.
What do you think is causing the lack of viewers for the NFL this year?
I'm gonna go out here on a limb, and I'm gonna say the Colin Kaepernick. I think at
So?
the beginning of the year, I think that at the beginning of the year to have such a big controversy as that was major. That was a huge deal. It happened right around 9/11. Tragic time in our nation, and I think that was a really big deal. It also comes down to these games are just not as good as what
That's
we're
exactly
expecting.
right. If you look at this past week, you see Cowboys and Browns in most of the regions across the country. You're going to find Cowboys and Browns as
just-
opposed to
Just not a good game.
yeah. It just as soon as and
I mean, you love to watch your Cowboys win, but
right. But when you
It's
see the
not a
Browns on
prime
TV, it's not something you want to look forward to seeing.
just these games have not just been the best, and it's
If you look at the primetime game on next week's schedule, I believe the Browns have Sunday or Monday night football, something like that. And
I know you schedule these things ahead of time.
and that's
It's
exactly
just-
right. Here's the issue, though. I don't necessarily agree with them scheduling these things ahead of time. I wish they would set it more so like college football, where it's a week-to-week basis, and you get to pick and choose which games you think would be the best game for that week. Because obviously, the way the NFL's viewership is going right now, they need to change something. And in my opinion, that should be one of those things.
Agreed. That's definitely something. You see a Cleveland game, I'm automatically putting that at the 11 o'clock game.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
I'm watching that at 11 o'clock in the morning, 12 o'clock, whatever. I'm putting that as your first game. If I can
Right.
start it earlier than the London games at 9 in the morning,
Oh my
I'm
gosh.
starting it
Those
right there
kill
and
me,
there. I don't know, how do you feel about those London games? How do you?
I like the fact that they're trying to get the NFL international in some areas like Australia, London, all that kind of stuff. However, I don't think it's really working all that well.
Really?
You see in international games, you see soccer or football, whichever one you want to consider it, as the leading sport across the entire world. And to try and impose an American sport into those countries, it's not something that they grow accustomed to. If you look at teams like Manchester United, Chelsea, all that kind of stuff over in England, they're going to choose that game over an NFL game any day of the week, no matter how good that NFL game is.
Absolutely.
And so I get it. I understand why they're trying to get it out to different countries and stuff like that, but there's only so much you can do.
I'm going to put it just like this. Whenever a soccer game comes on here, I'm not 100% sure about the rules. That means I'm not very likely to go to a professional soccer game here. It's because it's not because it's not enjoyable. It's because, well, I'm not 100%. I don't understand it.
Yeah.
I can't really relate to it as much, and it's. I think you're right. I think it's the same thing over there in London.
Right.
It's just
Yeah,
can't relate. It's
And another thing, you
it's
look
good
at the
that they're doing it though. They're trying.
right. You look at the viewership that they have in the U.S. as of right now. Obviously, it's on a steep decline. So, what makes you think that going international is going to fix that? I think you fix your issues here at home before you go off abroad. And
Absolutely.
That kind of stuff,
Having a 9 o'clock game is not going to help your ratings.
Exactly. Like
At all.
Nobody's going to be watching that game. I don't get that.
Oh no.
Oh,
Especially after a crazy night of college football. There's no way I'm waking up at 9 o'clock to watch football.
So, fun stat for you. Seattle has put up 31 points on the Bills right now. The Bills are an NFL worst 0-23 since 2012, allowing 25 plus points. Man, that's awful.
If you're a Bills fan, that's hard.
That's rough.
That's a hard
That's
stat to
rough.
swallow.
But who knows? I think we got 9:49 left in the game here. It looks like doesn't have my play-by-play up. Uh-oh. Not good.
Time to refresh.
Okay. So Seattle has one of the NFL's 2 ties this year, and I did not see that. And I'm sitting here like, why are they at 4-2 right now? Like they're missing 3 games on everybody else. Like, well, what is the issue?
Yeah, 2 ties. That's another thing. How do you feel about the overtime?
Shouldn't
you let it play until
I
the game is
agree.
over?
I agree. I don't
play.
understand how, and I think it's frustrating to a lot of players. I think you see Josh Norman a few weeks ago, actually in London, whenever they had that tie game.
That's right.
He was not happy with the overtime tie game. The NFL needs to fix that, obviously, and it's going to keep going back to viewership. Nobody wants to sit there and watch a tie football game.
No,
Nobody does.
it's not fun for anybody.
That's exactly right, and I love the college football's format whenever it comes to overtime. I get it. The NFL wants to have their own set of rules and stuff like that, but the college football world has a really good set of rules for overtime. Whenever you you go through the first and second overtime periods normal. Obviously, if somebody scores a touchdown, the other has to score a touchdown. Basically, once you hit that third overtime period, you cannot kick field goals anymore for the rest of the game. You have to score a touchdown or you don't score at all. And so I think the NFL needs to incorporate some sort of rule that kind of follows those guidelines in order to make sure that these tie games don't happen anymore.
I agree. Although if there was going to be a tie happen, maybe it's good to happen in London. They're used to ties.
Yeah.
Ending football games.
Yeah, that's exactly right. There you go.
Football or football.
1-1, 0-0, whatever it may be. They like their tie games.
They're used
I
to
guess.
ties, I guess. At least it happened over there. Doesn't help your ratings when you have 2 ties in a season. That's kind of a big deal. Let them play. Let them play the game.
Exactly right.
That's what they're getting paid for. Let them play the game. Give the fans what they came for. They want to see their team win.
Right. It's funny you say let them play. If you look at the officiating this year, does anybody notice a really, really steep incline in the amount of penalty flags thrown this year?
Now hold on, because when you talk about that, it's we give them all kinds of crap all the time.
That's true.
You can either call the entire game, which is what we're actually starting to see with all these penalty flags slowing down these games, or you can do what they've done in the past, where they let them play. They don't slow the game down any, but they miss a lot of calls, which a lot of fans get mad at. Well, now fans are getting mad because they are throwing all the flags. Well, you can't have them both.
There's no in between.
There's really not, and I think on some things they're doing a really good job at it, and there's a lot of big calls that they've missed as well. So it's kind of you win some, you lose some.
Yeah.
You gotta give it to them. You gotta find that balance.
There have been some funny things going on. Oh, Travis Kelce this week
Yeah.
with his ref throws a penalty flag. Travis Kelce looks at him and throws his towel, and then ref throws hat. Another flag comes in. All sorts of shenanigans went on. And
Two unsportsmanlike conducts.
That was the funniest penalty I've ever seen in my life.
If you're a Kansas City fan, you gotta be pretty upset.
You gotta be mad, but at the same time, you gotta enjoy the fact that Travis Kelce responded in that manner. I think that was.
This is true. That does make for a little entertainment.
Oh man, I enjoyed that.
Let's talk a little bit about fantasy. I know.
Yeah.
There's definitely some winners and losers this week. I'm gonna go ahead and Melvin Gordon. I know we play that PPR, points per reception, so it's not your standard league. We get a little higher scores, and I know I go to work and I talk about fantasy sometimes, and I'm like, yeah, I got 375 points, and they're like, holy
whoa.
Yeah, it's that point per reception, and it's kind of great sometimes.
I love the way that league is set up. It reminds me of, and this is not the greatest analogy, but it reminds me of Big 12 football compared to SEC football.
High-scoring games.
Yeah, high-scoring games versus just nothing, man. So I enjoy it. We're actually both in the same league with our family here, and so it is going to be an extremely competitive.
I'm going to go ahead and call it Melvin Gordon.
Yeah.
Guy's on fire.
He is.
He got me 117 points, which is
that good for you to rub it in, okay?
But you can't be mad with him. Not at all.
He had a phenomenal game. He's fun to watch. I saw one run where he bursted out for, I think it was about a 40 to 50 yard rush or so, and he shook off, I think, 4 tacklers at the line of scrimmage, and then took off out of nowhere. And that type of run was just, man, it was impressive. Simply put, it was just impressive. And so
Absolutely.
he had a phenomenal game yesterday.
I gotta say, my team took quite a hit week 9. I'm
Yeah.
a Texans fan.
Week 9, I'm telling you, it killed the majority of our league here. We had a lot of Week 9 buys. My starting quarterback, and arguably the best quarterback in the entire league, and Tom Brady.
Tom Brady.
Hey, man, he's good. All right?
All hail King Tom.
Everybody decided that they were going to laugh at me whenever I drafted him in the 3rd round, and now he is lighting the entire league up. So
He is. You got to give it to him. That guy can play football.
He is,
I don't care how much you love or hate the Patriots. You got to give credit where credit is due, and credit is due to Tom Brady.
I think over time I've really started to enjoy the Patriots with Tom Brady, Bill Belichick, the way he runs that organization. Sure, there was the Deflategate 2 years ago, but stupid stuff like that is going to happen.
Speaking of the Patriots, what do you do if you're Jimmy Garoppolo next year? Do you pull a Brock Osweiler and
Bolt?
do you take off?
Surely you do.
Do you cash in?
You
can't franchise
I think
him.
Tom Brady's there for 3-4 more years. So if you're Jimmy Garoppolo, you got to get out and you got to find another
Do you
home.
wait though? Tom's getting old.
Yeah, but by that time Jimmy Garoppolo is going to be, 27, 28?
Where do you go? I don't know.
You can go to the Browns. It's always an option for you. So.
Everybody needs a good quarterback when you're
Man.
in Cleveland.
But like we covered, Dak Prescott had a phenomenal game. Got me 80 points in our league. Jordy Nelson had a pretty good week this week. I think our highest scoring team this week, actually, I believe, was Robert here. with 334 points.
Wow, see,
Rocking it.
See,
And
that's that
it's
high scoring.
mainly because of Melvin Gordon, but
Hey, 117 points is 117 points, man.
take it how you get it, right?
I gotta say, I made a mistake of sitting Sam Bradford. He had a pretty good game,
Yeah.
fantasy-wise.
Fantasy, not necessarily outcome of the game.
Yeah. Another one is Jay Ayaji, Miami Dolphins.
Jay Ajayi.
Ajayi.
Ajayi. Yeah.
I can't
That's tough to
pronounce
pronounce.
that name. Ayaji.
He's
Pretty
coming off back-to-back 200-yard performances. Actually, fun fact for you: that second jersey from that second 200-yard game was actually put in the NFL Hall of Fame.
Really?
Yeah, well, he got sent out to Canton. It was impressive. So he had a good week this week.
You want to talk about losers? It's definitely Le'Veon Bell.
Yeah,
Like I said, only 32 yards on the ground, which is
not acceptable.
terrible.
My running back, and that's why I lost. So,
Yeah.
Come on, Le'Veon.
We can attribute it to one player. That definitely hurts though. 32 yards
sure,
from a veteran who you're used to putting up major points all the time.
You're right.
It hurts.
But
for
it was
sure.
almost one of those things that it was bound to happen because after having really good weeks since his suspension was lifted,
Yeah.
eventually those kind of things are going to happen. He's going to have a down week at some point, and so you're just going to play into account that kind of stuff. But
Yeah, for sure. It's another one. A lot of people started Big Ben, and that hurt kind of.
yeah.
So
So
I think he's just trying to push through injuries, and he shouldn't have been playing.
Same thing with Patrick
I
Mahomes,
can't-
but whatever. Don't get us. We'll get started on Texas Tech football at another date. That is a tough subject for us to get into.
Very
but-
tough subject right now. It's hard to talk about without grabbing a drink.
Right. Very strong drink. Another standout player this weekend, tight end Jason Witten.
Jason Witten, I actually did not. Alright. We good?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, sorry about that. Our camera actually died. This is, I guess, first time flaws once again.
Man, this is
So-
gonna be rough.
Yeah. Well, the first one's always the hardest, right?
That's true. That's very true.
But
Well, we were covering Jason Witten. He's kind of our last part here. We were actually almost finished. Just covering Jason Witten real quick. Had 69 points in our league. Man, Dak Prescott was targeting him all day long, and he was wide open all day long. So, that's simply put how that's just how it goes. So,
yeah. Well,
got anything else?
I think I'm good.
We've covered it. We will try and post a video sometime later this week. We'll kind of be covering the things that are going to be going on this upcoming weekend, as well as talking about the updated college football playoff rankings, where Texas Tech football goes from here, as well as the Houston Texans, Dallas Cowboys, see if Dak and Zeke can keep their magic going, and we just kind of keep on going. So,
Yeah. I think, what do we got? Oklahoma State this weekend for Texas Tech?
yeah,
All right.
yeah.
Well, I guess
Start
we
playing.
will cover more of that coming up on Wednesday,
Thursday, whenever it gets posted up there.
sometime around there.
So we'll see how it goes. We're going to film Wednesday, and we'll kind of cover everything there. Tough test at Oklahoma State.
Well, apparently our music's not going to play either.
Oh man, this has been a day.
Yep, it has been. But here it is, in case you can hear it. We're going to go ahead and we are going to get out of here. I've been Robert Wright.
And I'm Levi.
All right, and I just want to give a shout out to my fiance who has let us do this. She has a test tomorrow, so good luck on that stuff. But
Boom.
I think that is it for Sports Talk. We are out of here.
Awesome. We'll see you guys later. God.
Horrible.